Sony's latest flagship, the Xperia XZ2, and LG's latest flagship, LG V30. I've not seen anyone compare them, and I wanted to also check out the cameras on both of them, see how they do stack up in 2018. So in terms of the hardware, I think we're getting a very similar arrangement, although I think the Sony comes with Snapdragon 840 versus Snapdragon 835 in LG V30. LG V30 comes with a wide angle lens as well as some nice camera tricks that you can put on. Xperia comes with HDR video as well as a dynamic feedback system for the vibration. So let's just power them up here. The V30 is due to be supplanted soon with something new from LG. I think it's the LG G7 Thin Q or something. Really weird naming system. We can see V30 coming around a little bit faster here, which is quite nice. Sony's never been the fastest when it comes to booting up though, so that is quite expected really. In terms of the software, I think they're both running Oreo, so I think the Sony's is slightly more up to date. We'll just double check that in the settings somewhere. And LG keeps moving things. Yeah, it's down here. And then software. Oh no, we're on Nugget still with the LG. I thought it was on Oreo, but you can see they're really behind in terms of software updates. Sony is on 8.0, which isn't the latest. Even Nokia is ahead of both of them when it comes to software, so both could do with some improvement there. Just going to put something underneath the Sony because it does have a mind of its own here, and we can then, strangely enough, you can see it doesn't move when you put it on PS4 game, which is really weird, but we can have a look at the speed here, see if there's any differences. So with the LG, I think you're getting a slightly higher resolution display, which is OLED. I think it's 2K versus Full HD in the Sony, which sometimes does have some orientation issues. Just turn that off. So V30 seems to be a very well optimized device, but not that time. And the phone, so quite similar for the internal stuff, not too much difference there. Play Store, V30. We do have as well something else, the settings. Let's go to that one. So Sony comes back there a little bit. What else do we have? Music. Let's try Walkman versus LG Music. So LG, very quick on some of them there. Got to give it to LG for the optimization. Let's have a look at the games. The LG phone has come down in price quite a lot actually. You can get them for about €500 now, so I think they launched for about 800 when they first came out. XZ2 being a new phone is much more expensive. Again, the V30 here, and another one. So why is the V30 faster here than the latest good stuff from Sony? That is a good question. I think they both have the same RAM allocation. Not a huge difference there. Let's have a look at the speed test. let's go with the V30. I think with the V30 you're also getting wireless, I think they both actually support wireless charging nowadays, so they have both caught up there, because we have a glass kind of construction on the Sony on the back, and very decent for the Wi-Fi here. Can Sony meet that? You see, these 2018 phones don't really seem to be, you know, coming with the A game, if you ask me. They seem to be weak, you know. Look at that, that's nearly 50 megabytes difference. So rest assured, if you bought a phone at the end of 2017, it's still got a lot of life in it. Let's move on to some web browsing. And let's try BBC. And go. So Sony is smidgen faster there with that one. And again, you do get a lot more content on the V30 screen though. Even though this is bezel-less, you can see that the screen is much bigger. Although I don't like the blue shift that you do get on the V30. I think the Sony display looks more high quality. Again, Sony here, only just. So I think I'm going to give this to Sony when it comes to the web browsing. Very nice indeed. Let's move on to the camera here. So as I said, the camera is coming with HDR video here on the Sony, which promises to give you like more like contrasty colours, nice new feature. I think the camera lens is pretty much similar to last time, but it could be a little bit improved. You can look into it yourself basically. I know it doesn't have optical image stabilization and the lowest aperture like you do get with some other handsets. And I think generally, you know, given these compromises, it's not a terrible camera by any means. It's still very usable in the good light. Just get that rotation on again. So let's go here again, there we go. In fact, I'd say it's probably better than the V30 in terms of the good light. You can see the V30 colours don't seem to be quite as accurate. But when it comes to the low light, I was also quite impressed with the XZ2. It seems to be a step up from the XZ Premium in terms of the clarity and colours, etc. So it just seems to me that Sony's not bringing its A game. You know, it could really go forward and get ahead of the competition if it did put the hardware in place. It does a good job given that it doesn't have the hardware, but it could definitely do better. So it's quite perplexing to me how they don't, you know, go for the win, so to speak. But it's a decent camera, you know. It's not going to challenge, I think, the top end phones like the P20 Pro, but you know, you're not going to be that disappointed with it, I don't think. One thing which I was a bit disappointed with was the HDR video, which is, as I said, a touted feature here. For some reason it just kept playing extremely slow for me. It was very jittery, the focus was everywhere, it wasn't smooth like we've come to know with Sony. So maybe it's just my phone, you know. I have looked at a few other YouTube videos and it doesn't seem to affect theirs, but no matter where I did it, I had a lot of problems getting a nice smooth video. The V30 also looked very good in terms of the low light video recording. Very clear, nice and smooth. If you turned off the HDR kind of mode on the Sony, it does actually play a lot smoother. If you just use the 4K, for example, you can see here it's nice and smooth again. So I don't know, maybe it's just a software update it needs or something, but a bit disappointed that a touted feature doesn't work out of the box. It seems to be typical of phones nowadays. You know, the price is rising, but the actual quality control doesn't seem to be quite as good as before. You can see the V30 still holds its own here, even though it is getting on a little bit now. We see it came out in late 2017, and probably I'd say it's the more complete phone at the moment in terms of, you know, the price, the screen, the DAC as well, 32-bit. So definitely don't discount it. It's just the software updates which I don't trust LG, and you know, not many people do trust LG when it comes to software updates because they just don't keep their phones up to date. So yeah, just a quick little comparison here between Sony Xperia XZ2 and LG V30. I'll be doing some other comparisons with it. I hope you find this one helpful, and I'll see you in the next one. Cheers.